resources that we have, and based on that, we have the most commonly used is the REST-based communication and WebSocket-based communication. Okay, so REST-based is nothing but what you call representational state transfer. Okay, so this representational state transfer representation is nothing but the resource. Okay, so the resource that you are actually fetching through some URL that you are typing in a browser. For instance, we have a client, web client, and where the user is typing that www.google.com, and this request is going in a form of HTTP request over a TCP/IP protocol. Okay, so as soon as you send a request to the particular server, it will just fetch the desired response. Okay, so that response is nothing but a web page. Okay, so that is nothing but a representation of the resource. And every web pages, because we generally use the object-oriented development nowadays everywhere. So every web page has got its own state. Okay, so that is what is called as representative state transfer. State of the web page representation is nothing but the resources that you are getting from the server based on the request. So it is get transferred to the client. So if you talk about the REST API, it is actually based on the request response model, where once you send a request and you get the response and the connection is lost. Okay, so when you're browsing any web page, once the first page that you got from the server, and again you click some buttons and do some actions, again you send a request to the server, again it will fetch another page, again you click some more buttons on the screen, it will navigate to the next page. So each and every time you are establishing connection, sending a request to the server and getting a response. So the state is actually not maintained here. So that's why it is called as a stateless. Okay, so that's why it is a set of architectural principles. Now the REST is actually a framework, an architectural layered framework. Okay, by which you can design web services and web APIs. Okay, so whatever the services we obtain from the cloud, whether it's Amazon or whether it's a Google, whether it's a Google Colab, okay, or your several apps on your mobile phone, they're all connected to the servers through a particular cloud. Okay, so the services, those products that we are obtaining, whether it's coming from a Google, whether it's coming from Amazon, all those services are coming either through web or through web APIs. Okay, so that focus on a system resources. Okay, so whenever you send a request, you get some resource from the server. Okay, and how resource states are addressed and transferred. So that is what you call representative state transfer. Okay, and so these are the various architectural constraints we have as far as the REST API, which focus on the request response communication. That it's a client server, it's a stateless because the state is not maintained anywhere. Every time you are sending a request and getting a response, and it is cacheable in the sense that you can access pages depending on the request that you send, and it is following a particular layered architecture. Okay, so this REST itself is a form of architectural layered framework. Okay, so every time whenever you use this APIs, there is a proper interface between the user and the client, user and the server. Okay, so each and every time when you send a request, so the request is sent in a form of particular code. Okay, so lot of APIs you will find, I'll show you. So where you can make a small change, then you send a request and you get a response in a small piece of code itself, maybe in a JSON or XML format or a Java or a Python. Okay, so these are the various architectural constraints I have, and this is what an example we have discussed earlier also, that there is a web client and you open a web browser and you type www.amazon.com. So that is nothing but a URL. So that is an HTTP request that you are sending to the server. Okay, then you get a desired response over the TCP/IP protocol. Okay, so this is repeated until unless each and every time you are browsing your pages. Okay, so so every communication in computers has to follow this network model, so OSI model, as far as communication between one system to another system is concerned. And in TCP we have at least 5 layers. Okay, and in some books they mention 4 layer also because they combine the last 2 layers as a network access. Otherwise these 5 layer are the basic communication. the common protocols we have in TCP IP protocol suite. So on the top, we have an application, then we have a transport network, data link, and physical layer. Okay, so these are the key layers that we have. So that's why it is mentioned that a layered system, because the request and response are following some layered architecture. Okay, so this is that layer. Okay, so this will look like this. So this is like this. So you are sending and your server is receiving, and it follows all these layers. So the packets or the data or the request is going in this format. Okay, so here also the same thing, data sent by the user, data received by the user through network. So all this, it passes layer by layer. Okay, so whatever the data from, whatever the request, whatever the HTTP header will be there, it will pass from layer by layer. Okay, so this is what so we have different methods as far as availing the services from the server is concerned. So so this is GET. So whenever you browse something like www.google.com, that is actually a GET request. Get a web page that you want a resource from the server. Okay. Similarly, we have a post. Post is something that when you're submitting something, you submit your user ID and password, then you get login. Okay, you are doing, that is nothing but a post method is invoked. Okay, so all these are the methods which are nothing but a Java object, Java methods. Okay, so we call it as HTTP methods. Okay. So if the server is totally based on servlet, so then we have HTTP servlet request and HTTP servlet response. Okay. So we have get, put, post, delete. So these are the most common methods that we have. We call it as HTTP methods. And so once you, whatever the response you get, the response is nothing but a form of file. Okay. So that may be generally, the files are in the form of object notation. We call it a JavaScript object notation or an XML file. Okay. So these are the commands that we give when you send a request to the server and it fetches the response. Okay, so that the user can get the response from the server. So these are the resources. Okay, so we have already discussed that what is URI, URL, and URN. So the entire link is called as a URI, and if it has HTTP, then we are following a HTTP scheme or a protocol, so that becomes URL. Okay, so then for instance www.google.com/ whatever we mentioned, that comes under the resources. Okay, maybe some .jpg image you are fetching from the server. Okay, something like that. So the resources are nothing but they are your universal resource identifier that is obtained as a part of universal resource locator plus universal resource name. Okay, so URI is nothing but combination of URL plus URN. So this is how the sequence diagram it shows as far as the request response model is concerned. So each and every time you send a request, okay, then you get a response in the form of JSON file or XML file. This is something that I've shown when I talk about ThingSpeak Cloud. Okay, where I mentioned, where I've discussed what is write API and what is read API. Okay, so there is a request and the response. So each and every time you send a request, you get a response. The connection is lost. If you keep on sending request and response, you will be connected with the server. Otherwise, the connection is lost. So these are the methods that I have discussed. Okay. So whatever the request you send, request is sent in the form of methods itself. We call it as a HTTP request method. Okay. So we have this HTTP methods and we have got the corresponding resource type in the form of URL. Okay, as the example it is given. Okay. So these are the things to be remembered, that RESTful web services is a web API implemented using HTTP and REST principles, and it is a collection of resources which are represented by URIs. Okay, so whatever the resource you fetch from the server, it is actually the entire link mentioned in the URL bar. Okay. So each and every time when you move from one page to another, if you take a look on your URL bar, okay, you will find the resource name as well, whether it's an image, whether it's a page, whatever it is. Okay. So RESTful Web API has a base. Okay, so example, so this is your domain name. So this is your protocol, and these are the resources. First, you have looked for API, then you have looked for another resource called task like this. Okay, so first in the first page you have got API, then you click something, then it move to task like this. Each and every time when you click something, it will fetch a page. Okay, it will be added here. Okay. So that's why it is called as resources which are represented by URIs. Okay. So client sends request to these URLs using HTTP methods. Okay, because these web pages are stored in the server in the form of links. Okay, and you have to press that link so that you fetch the entire page from the server. So RESTful web services can support various internet media types like JSON, Java script object notation. Okay. So that is all about REST API. Okay. We'll discuss some examples also in real life examples like Twilio and Spotify and all. Okay. So next we have WebSocket. So in WebSocket, it is actually a bi-directional communication that takes place between the client and the server. And it is totally based on exclusive pair communication model. You see here, exclusive pair communication model here. So we have an exclusive pair here and here bi-directional. So in the REST API, your REST API is unidirectional. Sorry, so your REST is unidirectional. Okay, but here it is bi-directional and it is full duplex. The rest is half duplex because every time you're sending a request, then you are getting a response. Okay, so we have full duplex communication between client and the server. So unlike request response APIs such as REST, the WebSocket APIs allow full duplex communication and do not require a new connection. So this is very important. No new connection is required. Okay, so I'll show the diagram why new connection is not required. It is similar to what we have when you use any gaming application or any chatting application. So there, once the connection is established, it will be there unless you disconnect it. Okay. So this is how the steps of interaction. First, you send a request to set up WebSocket connection. Once the connection is established, it sends an acknowledgement. So this is an acknowledgement. Now this is called as handshake. Okay, handshake means the connection is established between the client and the server. Okay, so once the connection is established, if it is a chat application, then you keep on sending messages. Okay, so the messages are sent in the form of data frame, so it's a bidirectional communication. So you keep on sending messages. You send a request, hello, your friend will send hi, how are you? Like this, the communication begins. So once you close, the connection will be closed. Okay, so this is the entire cycle that is repeated. Okay, so the connection is closed at this point. In between, the connection is there every time when the communication is taking place. Once you initiate that I don't want to continue the communication, then you send a request to close. So in this connection is closed. Okay. So so we have to create a lot of WebSocket objects in order to establish the communication. So we have a WebSocket like this. Okay, this we'll discuss later if time permits. All some coding skills are required. So this is a URL that looks like. So this is here. This is WS WebSocket. If it is WSS WebSocket secure. So the same thing in case of REST API is HTTPS or HTTP. Okay, so here because it is WebSocket, we have WS. Then rest the domain or host is there. Then port 80,000. Sorry, 8,000 is a port for WebSocket. And then so connect to the chat server. So the most standard protocol is RFC 6445. So proposed standard for WebSocket protocol. Okay, and it is supported by all these browsers. Okay, where's Mozilla, Google, Chrome, whatever it is. Okay. So RFC 6455 is supported by various browsers. So this is a standard WebSocket protocol that we have, and it works on port number 8,000. Okay. So existing techniques which are used for duplex communication between the server and the client. So these are some of the existing techniques we have: polling, long polling, streaming, postback, and AJAX HTML5. So you can Google it and you can see. Okay. So if the time permits, then I'll go in detail. Okay. So AJAX is based on JavaScript, XML HTTP request object. Okay. Then the major drawbacks of AJAX in comparison to the normal WebSocket is the header. So a lot of space is required, and it's totally based on half duplex communication. Okay, and a lot of resources. The server consumes more resources in case of AJAX. And other is HTML5. It is also a robust framework for developing web apps. And the main pillars is, now there are three things that are combined here. So one is markup language, that is HTML, then cascading style sheets, CSS3, then JavaScript. All these are clubbed to give HTML5. So we have markup language, we have style sheets and JavaScript. So these are the various functionalities of the WebSocket. Okay, so you can have a JavaScript client, you can have a Flash, you can have some normal Java client, mobile device, Google Web Toolkit client, .NET. So everything is connected to the web. Okay, then it will communicate with the server using WebSocket gateway. Okay. So as we have HTTP methods, here also we have some WebSocket API events like open, message, close, error. Okay, and the protocol supports two main actions like send, close. Okay. So these are the differences that I've already highlighted as far as the REST and WebSocket APIs are concerned. One is stateless and another is stateful, because the entire state is mentioned when the connection is there between the client and the server. Okay. So this is bidirectional, unidirectional. So exclusive pair, follow request response. So HTTP request involves setting up new TCP connection. So this new is very important. Each and every time that connection is established. Here, only single TCP connection for all messages. Okay, if you take a chat application or a games. Okay, header overhead. Each request carries HTTP headers and is not suitable for real time. So this socket program is suitable for real life applications. Does not involve overhead of headers. Okay, so most of the IoT applications, they follow the WebSocket also. So both horizontal and vertical are easier as far as increasing the size is concerned and layer wise. So it only goes for vertically you can increase. Okay. So let me show some examples. Okay. So first of all, I will show you. Twilio. So Twilio is actually a communication APIs for SMS, voice, video, and all. Okay. So we have various softwares like Twilio, Spotify. Spotify you might have heard is used for music, videos, and all. So Twilio communication APIs for SMS, voice, video. Okay. So you can create your own account here. Okay. So let me. So So here it is Twilio. So to verify here. So you'll receive some OTP 5600449. Okay. So here this is a dashboard. And here in the left hand side, if you click here, so this I have created sometimes back. Okay. So you click here and you'll see all this communication cloud, super network, engagement cloud, so IoT. So we'll check for simple messaging. Okay, programmable messaging. So here what we'll do, that will give one mobile number, one number it will give, and you have to enter your mobile number. Then you type a message, so you'll receive a message to your mobile phone. So continue getting started. So how the messages are sent from Twilio to your mobile phone, I'll show you. Okay. Here it is. So here it is my mobile number. You can enter your mobile number. Now when you click here, by default it will show some numbers. You select that. Okay. So because Twilio is used as a communication API, so here the message that you want to send to this mobile number is my mobile number. And the programming languages you see here, it is Curl. Curl is one programming languages. Then you can see Java. Okay, Java, then Ruby, PHP, Python, Node.js, all programming languages are supported. Okay, so let me say hello to ECE section B. So whatever I type here, it will be reflected here. You see here, hello to ECEB. So if I remove B, see, take a look on the right hand side here, this one, see. See, when I'm deleting here, the body, here also it is deleted. So hello to ECE section B. See the body, it is C here. So all the information that you communicate, it will be encrypted. So you can show authorized token, it will be shown here. Okay, so this is encrypted. Okay. So this, so once I make a request, then this message will go to my mobile phone. Okay. So now the response you see here. So this is my response. Hello to C. So now I have received a message. Okay. So this is how it actually works. There are plenty of such services are there. You can send a chat, video. You can send, all these are mentioned here. You can explore this. Okay, so these are all working on APIs. Okay, and it supports various programming languages that I've shown. And the response you see, 201 is a stated request was successful. We created a new resource and the response body contains this. So in order to send this hello to ECB, so hello to ECB is a message that I've sent, and there's entire format of that. Okay, so this is in Perl. So I'll show in Python also. So you see the Python here. So it is shown in the form of dictionary. Okay, so in Python, the data structure is in a form of dictionary. Okay, so data created, data update, data send, amount. Okay, then serial input, body sent from Twilio trial account, hello to ECB. So like this, you can communicate. Okay, see the entire body is there. Okay, so there's a URI. So this you can explore. Okay, so other facilities are also given. Even you can use for IoT also. Video, chat, everything you can explore. So the entire software works on API. So you can see API docs are tutorials guide, everything is there. You can just explore this. Okay. REST API. Okay. Twilio REST API allows you to query and manage metadata about your account, phone number, usage, and all. Okay. Your request, response, security, all this. Okay. So just I've shown how the API is working in order to just sending a message from Twilio to your mobile phone. Even from mobile to mobile also you can do it. Okay, so you know your job is to explore the various functionalities that are there in Twilio. Okay. So let me move. So Hive MQTT. So the publisher subscribe model follows this MQTT protocol. So MQTT broker is a server. Okay. So publishers have most of the IoT applications uses this concept. Okay. Now you see here. So the MQTT dashboard utilizes the Hive MQTT broker. So you can use any MQTT client or library to publish the broker. Now you see here the outgoing messages, incoming messages, subscription retained, bytes written. Okay, so MQTT connection settings. So broker.hivemqtt.com. So there's your host. Okay, so when you use for any IoT application, you want to send your data to the cloud. So you can use this MQTT protocol, and there's a host, broker.hive.mqtt. hivemq.com, and it works on port 1883. Okay, so TCP port is 1883. If you're using a WebSocket port, this is 8000, as we had just discussed. Okay, WebSocket port is 8000 and TCP port is 1883, and all the browsers support this port. Okay, so you see how many clients are there, and each and every time they are communicating. Okay, so all this data is coming from all the devices that are connected. Okay, so this is all about MQTT dashboard. So I'll show one such program where I have connected to the cloud using MQTT. So we have a WebSocket client also. So you can explore this. So MQTT protocol is a lightweight protocol. Okay. So reliable data movement for connecting devices, connect any device. Okay. So most of the IoT devices, they use this MQTT protocol. Scale and reliability. So you see MQTT broker scales up to 10 million connecting devices. So that's that lists so many devices that are currently connected to this Hive MQ. Okay. And so you can go through this. Plenty of information is given. Okay, we have MQTT toolbox. So you can learn about MQTT and all 5 essentials, MQTT essentials. Okay, what are the basics? Okay, all this you can study. Okay, this I have already taught you. Publisher subscriber basics and all. Okay. So you'll find some videos also. So some videos are there. I'll explain about. See, this is what we have already discussed. So the publisher is going to publish the data. So we have discussed an example of a temperature. Here it is a speed. Okay, and this is a server, or we'll call a broker, MQTT broker. It will publish depending on the topic. And the subscriber is using a mobile phone or any other backend device. He will subscribe based on the topic. Okay, then he'll receive the corresponding signal. Okay, because the publisher doesn't have any idea about who is subscribing this. Okay, because that is the job of the broker who will divide all those messages in different topics. So publisher to topic speed and subscribe to topic speed. Okay, so the subscribe is nothing but the subscriber will select a particular topic and access that information. Okay, so this may be a temperature, pressure, humidity, whatever the information. Okay, so this is a publisher subscriber model. So you see here decoupling of the publisher of the message from the recipient. The publisher don't know who is receiving, who are the receivers. So publisher and subscriber do not need to know each other. Okay, no exchange of IP address and port. Publisher and subscriber do not need to run at the same time. Synchronization decoupling operation on both components do not need to be interrupted during publishing or receiving. Okay, so because both are not required to be started at the same time. You just keep on publishing the data, and what is happening on the public subscriber side, that we are not bothered. Okay. Scales better than a traditional client server approach. Okay, so that's why in most of the cases in connected devices we use this. So you can read this when time permits. Okay. So this is information about MQTT protocol, something that we have already discussed. So this I have shown the site also, hivemq.com. Okay. And okay, I'll show you how to check the headers. For instance, this is a web page that you have opened, and you right click click on inspect. So as soon as you click on the inspect, you will get this. Okay, so you see wherever you, so here the elements are highlighted. So you scroll this in the left hand side, you see wherever you will keep on scrolling this mouse, you will see that in the left hand side it is shaded. So this code is with reference to this page itself. Okay, but we click on network. Okay, now this is the corresponding URLs are there. Okay, you click on any one and then file failed to load response data. Okay, oh, all ping. Okay, so now you see, so when I click this one in the headers, you see in the header section, so there's a URL. Okay, there's a request method get, that is HTTP get, status code is okay 200 from memory cache. So this is a request URL, then the response you see. So there's a response associated with this particular URL. Okay, all this information, anything. So here you click, you'll get another information. Here you'll get. So we have checked for HiveMQ. So there's this. So get, we have not used any post because you are not submitted or given any data to the server. So that is possible when you do a login page where user ID password that you post. So there it will show post method. Okay, because you have posted something. But for the time being, we are fetching the information. So you can get this. Okay. So you see. So whatever the web page that is related to. So every web page has got its own corresponding header. So whatever the pages so far we have scrolled, all those pages URL is this, and you can click, you'll see the header here. Okay, all the information about the headers. Okay, let's just scroll it. Then what is more important in IoT is Raspberry Pi, because you must have a Raspberry Pi with you, otherwise how will you learn all this? So we have a website for raspberrypi.org. So here you'll get details about all. So nowadays we have Raspberry Pi 4, Raspberry Pi 4 or Raspberry Pi 3, whatever the version we have. It is actually a desktop computer actually. Okay, so I'll show you why it is a desktop computer. Now here you see, so this is a Raspberry Pi with 40 GPIO pins with a RAM size. Okay, and all USB ports, Ethernet where you can connect your LAN cable, then other HDMI ports and the powerful processor. Okay, and see here, this is your Raspberry Pi. You can connect your keyboard, you can connect your mouse, you can connect your camera, whatever, you can connect your mouse. So the entire thing, because once you can connect your monitor and keyboard, means that it becomes a desktop here. Okay, this acts as a desktop. Okay, so when it acts as a desktop, you must have some operating system. So now here your desktop computer. So Raspberry Pi becomes a desktop now. And in order to start, what you have to do, you have to install a software, the operating system. Okay, so the operating system is called as Raspbian. Earlier we call it as a Raspbian. So that has to be installed in a micro SD card. Okay, so micro SD card loaded with Noobs as an operating system, software that installs the operating system. So that is if you purchase a Raspberry Pi kit with some sensors, it will cost like 5,000, 6,000. There you will get preloaded SD card. So you just connect a monitor and all, it will boot. Okay. Otherwise, you have to download Noobs, then you install or this particular operating system on the SD card. Okay. So download Noobs to load a card yourself. Okay. Otherwise, many times you get the preloaded card itself. Okay. So all this information is given how to configure. And as far as cost of this is concerned, you can check in Amazon. Here it is shown Amazon.in. So here you can search Raspberry Pi kit. So when you purchase kit, you will get some sensors, jumper wires, breadboard, and all. Okay. Here there is no sensors, so you don't buy this. So here this is an Arduino board. And we're learning kit of Raspberry Pi with code Python tutorials CD. Okay, distance sensor LED. So this is okay. Okay, all items are there. So if you want to work in, so here we have all these devices. Okay, Raspberry Pi. Okay, this one I think. Okay, make sure that when you're purchasing a Raspberry Pi kit, it must have a Raspberry Pi. Okay, here it is there, I think. Okay, you can directly kit. Otherwise, you can purchase separately Raspberry Pi, all jumper wires, separate purchase you have to do. Okay, so you can get the entire kit. Okay, you make sure that it must have a Raspberry Pi, jumper wires, sensors, LEDs, everything. Okay. So Electroboard Ultimate Starter Learning Kit for Raspberry Pi. I don't think there Raspberry Pi is here in this kit. Okay. So if it is kit is there means it costs around 6,000 rupees. So here the Raspberry Pi is there, but here sensing devices are not there. Sensors. HDMI cable, Ethernet cable. Yes, here we have. So this you see around 6,000 it costs. If you purchase the Raspberry Pi kit from RoboCraze. Here you see some sensors are there, manual 60 GB, SD card is there, Ethernet cable, all these are there. So it will cost around 6,000 rupees. Okay. So if you're working on IoT at the initial stage, you must have all this. Otherwise, if you're not using this microcontroller, then you have to use Arduino board. For that, you have to because here Wi-Fi is inbuilt, but in Arduino board you don't have Wi-Fi inbuilt, so you have to purchase ESP8266. Okay. So we generally follow this. Okay. So once you have this kit with you, then you go for programming in Python. Okay, how an LED bulb is connected. Then, so we have to write program in Python. So that will, when time permits. So anybody having any doubt? So far we have discussed all basics. So tomorrow I won't take your class. Okay. So I'll stop here. If you have any doubt, you can ask me or see you next week. Bye bye. Oh, let me take the attendance. 48 people are there. सब कहाँ चले गए? छठ मनाने गए हैं. Wow. Okay, we'll stop here. Okay, we'll see you next week. Okay, bye bye. Take care.